What does it take to change the way billions of people communicate? Is it genius or obsession? Is it vision or power? Mark Zuckerberg's story is not just about building a social network. It is the story of how a single idea born in a college dorm room grew into one of the most powerful corporations in human history. It is a story of ambition colliding with criticism, of innovation walking hand in hand with controversy, of failure re-emerging as reinvention. From connecting friends on campus, to influencing elections, to shaping the future of virtual worlds, Zuckerberg's journey forces us to ask, what is the true cost of building an empire in the digital age? This is not just about Facebook. This is about the rise and the struggles of a company that changed how we live, work, and even think. Mark Zuckerberg was not the image of a traditional entrepreneur. Born in 1984 in White Plains, New York, he was a quiet, introverted kid who found comfort in computers rather than crowds. While others played sports or chased social circles, Zuckerberg spent nights tinkering with code, building games and small programs that hinted at something bigger. His parents, recognizing this spark early, gave him tutors and tools to nurture his gift. By the time he entered Harvard, he wasn't just another student, he was already a builder. The early 2000s were a strange and exciting time for the internet. MySpace and Friendster were trying and failing to create digital spaces where people could connect. Social networking was clumsy, awkward, and often fleeting. It was a new frontier, but no one had yet captured the formula that would make it indispensable to daily life. The world was hungry for connection, but technology hadn't yet delivered it in a way that felt natural. Into this fragile ecosystem stepped Zuckerberg with an idea simple in form, yet massive in implication. At Harvard, Zuckerberg launched small experiments like FaceMash, a crude website that compared student photos. While controversial, it revealed two things: people's deep curiosity about one another, and the raw power of digital networks to spread faster than any rumor whispered in the dining hall. It was messy, even reckless, but it was also a glimpse of what was possible. Zuckerberg saw something others missed. The internet wasn't just about information, it was about identity, about people. Facebook, originally called Thefacebook, was born in 2004 with a straightforward mission: to connect Harvard students through their real names, real identities, and real social networks. It wasn't about anonymous chat rooms or flashy features. It was about authenticity. For the first time, the digital world mirrored the physical one, complete with friendships, interests, and personal timelines. That small leap made the platform addictive, intimate, and unlike anything that came before it. The timing was almost prophetic. Students longed for something that felt both exclusive and universal, a way to belong to their campus community while staying visible to others. The Facebook offered exactly that. Within a month, half of Harvard's undergraduates had signed up. What began as a side project in a dorm room was already hinting at a cultural shift far beyond the ivy walls. But Zuckerberg's vision was not limited to Harvard. He wasn't content with a campus app. He wanted a digital map of human connection. From the very beginning, his ambition was global. His mission bold: to give everyone, not just students, a digital identity and a community to belong to. This wasn't just coding. It was an attempt to rewrite how humans interact in the modern age. Looking back, it is easy to see the seeds of both triumph and trouble. The same forces that made Facebook magnetic, the drive for connection, validation, and visibility, would also open doors to ethical dilemmas, privacy concerns, and unintended consequences. But in that moment, none of this was clear. What was clear was this: a 19-year-old student had built something that would grow into one of the most powerful platforms in the world. Every empire begins in fragile moments, and for Facebook, the early days were anything but certain. While the platform spread rapidly through Harvard and then 2 other Ivy League campuses, Zuckerberg and his small team were still students. Operating out of cramped dorm rooms with limited resources, servers crashed constantly under the weight of demand, and the fledgling startup struggled to keep up with growth. What looked from the outside like overnight success was, on the inside, a storm of chaos, sleepless nights, and doubts about survival. Competition loomed at every corner. Friendster still had millions of users. MySpace was rapidly growing, backed by corporate muscle. The question was simple but daunting: Why would the world need yet another social network? Zuckerberg and his team had no guarantee their creation would outlast the hype. Investors were cautious, and rivals were aggressive. Facebook was an underdog in an industry that had already seen many social platforms rise and fall like sparks in the dark. Then came the first serious crisis. In 2004, just as Facebook began expanding beyond Harvard, Zuckerberg faced a lawsuit from 3 Harvard classmates, the Winklevoss twins, and Divya Narendra, who claimed he had stolen their idea for a campus networking site. The legal battle threatened to crush the company before it had even found its footing. Headlines painted Zuckerberg as a thief, and trust, so crucial for a social network, was suddenly in question. For a moment, it seemed Facebook might be nothing more than a scandalous footnote in tech history. Internally, the company was also grappling with direction. Should they chase quick monetization like MySpace with flashy ads and features? Or should they focus relentlessly on growth, keeping the platform clean and user-centric? Zuckerberg made a controversial but defining decision. He resisted short-term profits and doubled down on scale. The mantra was clear: Facebook is not a company, it is a social utility. That pivot in philosophy separated Facebook from rivals who treated users as customers rather than as a community. Still, doubts lingered. The company had no proven business model, and venture capital was not easily convinced. For every new campus that adopted Facebook, there was pressure to prove that the platform was more than a passing college trend. Even Zuckerberg's closest allies questioned whether the idea could sustain itself once the novelty wore off. To keep morale alive, the team relied on an almost stubborn belief that connecting people was not a fad, but a fundamental human need. In this fragile stage, leadership mattered more than code. Zuckerberg's quiet confidence became a strange kind of anchor. He wasn't loud or charismatic, but he was relentless. His willingness to ignore immediate profits and instead chase a larger vision kept the team focused when logic suggested they should quit. These were the moments when the company nearly collapsed, yet didn't because the founder refused to bend to fear. The early struggles of Facebook reveal an important truth. Every revolutionary idea is born in uncertainty. What looks inevitable in hindsight was, at the time, a gamble balanced on fragile trust, borrowed money, and youthful determination. These pivots, the decision to prioritize growth, the resolve to fight lawsuits rather than fold, and the focus on users over advertisers shaped the DNA of Facebook. It was in these struggles, not the later victories, that the foundation of the empire was laid. Every great company has a moment where the idea transforms into a movement. For Facebook, that moment came with a deceptively simple feature: the newsfeed. Launched in 2006. It transformed the platform from a static profile directory into a living, breathing stream of updates. Suddenly, users weren't just visiting profiles, they were experiencing a continuous narrative of their friends' lives. It was a radical shift. What once required effort, checking in on each friend individually, became effortless, addictive, and deeply personal. The newsfeed was not just a feature, it was the heartbeat of Facebook. But with innovation came backlash. When the newsfeed first appeared, users protested loudly, calling it invasive and creepy. Yet Zuckerberg stood firm. He insisted that this was the future, that people wanted to know what was happening around them in real time. His decision to push forward against the noise proved prescient. Within months, the outrage gave way to dependence. The newsfeed unlocked a new kind of digital engagement that competitors couldn't match, securing Facebook's place as the default social hub of the internet. Another critical decision was the introduction of the like button. At first glance, it seemed trivial, a small gesture of acknowledgement. Beneath its simplicity lay a psychological engine. With a single click, users could validate, encourage, and react. It gamified attention and rewired social interaction. For Facebook, the like button wasn't just engagement, it was the fuel that powered virality. Suddenly, content spread faster, users returned more often, and the platform became not just a tool, but a habit. Zuckerberg's genius was not in inventing social interaction, humans had done that for millennia, but in digitizing it in a way that was frictionless. Each product decision was guided by a relentless focus on connection. Unlike MySpace, which cluttered profiles with custom backgrounds and music, Facebook prioritized clarity, speed, and identity. Real names, real faces, real relationships. It wasn't flashy. It was intentional. That restraint gave Facebook a sense of authenticity that users craved. Momentum built quickly. From Harvard to Stanford, from Ivy Leagues to state schools, from American campuses to universities abroad, the spread was viral. By 2006, Facebook had expanded beyond academia, opening to the public. Suddenly, it wasn't just students who wanted in. It was everyone: professionals, parents, even grandparents. The exclusivity that had made it appealing in its early days was replaced by a universality that made it unstoppable. The company's growth wasn't fueled by expensive marketing campaigns. Instead, it relied on the oldest form of promotion: word of mouth. Friends invited friends, who invited more friends, until entire social circles found themselves mirrored online. This organic spread created a network effect that became Facebook's strongest moat. The more people joined, the more valuable the platform became, and the harder it was for anyone to leave. What started as a dorm room experiment had, in just a few years, become a cultural phenomenon. Facebook was no longer a scrappy student project. It was an engine of connection, a digital town square where billions of conversations were unfolding. So these early innovations, the news feed, the like button, and the commitment to real identity, were not just technical features. They were turning points that defined the company's trajectory. They transformed Facebook from a promising startup into a global force. By the late 2000s, Facebook was no longer confined to dorm rooms or college campuses. The platform had become a global phenomenon, expanding into countries and cultures far beyond its American origins. Scaling at this level required more than clever coding. It demanded infrastructure, data centers, and organizational discipline that could handle hundreds of millions, and eventually billions of users. Every click, every photo, every like had to be stored, processed, and delivered in milliseconds. The technical challenge was staggering, yet Facebook's engineers built a backbone that could support a social network at planetary scale. But Zuckerberg's ambitions stretched beyond merely running a website. He saw Facebook not as a single product, but as a platform or foundation for an ecosystem of digital life. To achieve that, he needed more than internal innovation. He needed acquisitions. And in 2012, he made one of the boldest moves in Silicon Valley history, buying Instagram for $1 billion. At the time, Instagram was a fledgling photo-sharing app with only 13 employees. Critics called it reckless, yet Zuckerberg saw what others didn't: that the future of online expression would be visual, mobile, and instantaneous. The gamble paid off. Instagram grew into one of the most influential platforms in the world, anchoring Facebook's dominance in the age of smartphones. 2 years later, another deal shook the industry: the acquisition of WhatsApp for an astonishing $19 billion. At first glance, it seemed excessive for a messaging app with no ads and minimal revenue. But Zuckerberg's calculation was strategic. WhatsApp's strength was its global reach, particularly in regions like Europe, Latin America, and India, where Facebook Messenger lagged. By securing WhatsApp, Facebook didn't just buy a product, it secured a gateway to billions of conversations, embedding itself deeper into the fabric of daily communication. Then came Oculus, the $2 billion bet on virtual reality. Unlike Instagram and WhatsApp, Oculus wasn't an established giant. It was a vision of a future not yet realized. Zuckerberg believed VR would be the next major computing platform, just as mobile had replaced desktop. To many, the purchase felt like a distraction, an indulgence far from Facebook's core. Yet to Zuckerberg, it was insurance against irrelevance, a way to leapfrog into the next digital frontier before anyone else. Each of these acquisitions carried enormous risk. Instagram could have fizzled. WhatsApp might never have monetized. Oculus could remain a niche technology. More dangerously, regulators began to take notice. The sheer size of these deals raised questions about monopoly power and whether Facebook was buying innovation simply to neutralize competition. What appeared as smart strategy to some looked to others like ruthless empire building, and yet the long-term consequences became clear. Instagram's rise helped Facebook dominate visual culture. WhatsApp gave it unparalleled access to private messaging markets. Oculus planted the seeds for what would later evolve into Meta's grand vision of the metaverse. Together, These moves transformed Facebook from a single product company into a sprawling digital conglomerate. With influence spanning from casual conversations to global media trends, looking back, these acquisitions were more than business transactions. They were turning points that defined Facebook's future. They revealed Zuckerberg's willingness to take outsized risks, to pay seemingly absurd sums, and to bet not just on the present, but on a vision of the world 10 or 20 years ahead. Whether seen as brilliance or arrogance, these high-stakes gambles ensured one thing: Facebook was no longer just a network. It was an empire with ambitions far larger than social media. For all its triumphs, Facebook's meteoric rise came with shadows. The very features that made it powerful: the news feed, the like button. The viral spread of information also became weapons in the wrong hands. The first major cracks appeared in the 2010s. As privacy advocates warned that Facebook was harvesting more data than users understood, what began as a tool for connection was slowly revealed to be a machine for surveillance, fueling targeted ads and predictive algorithms. Users felt a subtle shift. They weren't just participants on Facebook, they were the product. The storm broke in 2018 with the Cambridge Analytica scandal. It was revealed that the political consulting firm had harvested data from millions of Facebook users without their consent, using it to influence elections across the globe. The revelation sparked outrage, sending shockwaves through governments, media, and the public. Suddenly, Facebook was no longer a youthful disruptor. It was an empire accused of undermining democracy itself. Trust, once the platform's greatest asset, was shattered almost overnight. Public backlash was fierce. Like #delete, Facebook trended worldwide. Lawmakers called Zuckerberg to testify before Congress, grilling him on privacy, misinformation, and Facebook's role in shaping political discourse. The hearings became a cultural spectacle. A young tech billionaire dressed in a simple suit, facing a room of seasoned politicians demanding answers. It was not just about one company. It was about whether a single platform had grown too powerful for its own good. The scrutiny didn't stop with Cambridge Analytica. Across the years, Facebook faced accusations of spreading misinformation, enabling hate speech, and amplifying extremist voices. Its algorithms optimized for engagement often rewarded outrage and sensationalism. What had begun as a mission to connect the world was now being blamed for dividing it. Around the globe, governments launched investigations, regulators imposed fines, and lawsuits piled up. Facebook's once brilliant image as a tech innovator was stained by scandal. Zuckerberg's response was a mix of apology and defiance. He admitted mistakes, pledged reforms, and promised tighter privacy controls. He spoke of transparency, accountability, and the need to balance free expression with responsibility. Yet critics accused him of moving too slowly, of prioritizing growth and profits over ethics. To some, his calm demeanor felt like leadership. To others, it was cold detachment in the face of crisis. Still, survival became the company's strongest trait. Despite scandals, user numbers continued to grow. Despite fines, revenue soared. Zuckerberg pushed forward, investing in artificial intelligence to police harmful content, hiring thousands of moderators, and rolling out privacy updates. The company absorbed the blows, adapted, and kept expanding. If anything, the crises revealed not just Facebook's vulnerabilities, but its resilience. These controversies marked a turning point. Facebook was no longer seen as an innocent startup or a daring innovator. It had become a global institution, one that wielded power comparable to nations, yet lacked the accountability of governments. The scandals forced both Zuckerberg and the world to confront an uncomfortable truth: when a single company connects billions, its mistakes are not small, they reshape society itself. By 2021, the weight of controversies, lawsuits, and declining public trust pushed Facebook toward a dramatic reinvention. In a move that stunned the world, Mark Zuckerberg announced a rebrand. Facebook would become Meta. This was more than a change in name. It was a declaration of intent. Zuckerberg wanted to move beyond social media, beyond the criticisms, and build the next great frontier of technology, the metaverse. It was a gamble as audacious as it was uncertain. The metaverse vision was sweeping, promised immersive worlds where people could work, play, shop, and socialize in virtual reality. No longer confined to screens, Interactions would take place in 3D spaces. Powered by avatars and digital economies, Zuckerberg described it as the next chapter of the internet, a transformation as profound as the shift from desktop to mobile. For some, it sounded like science fiction. For others, it sounded like salvation. Either way, Meta had staked its future on this dream. To make that dream real, Meta leaned heavily on Oculus, the VR company it had acquired years earlier. Billions were poured into research and development, with teams racing to build headsets, software, and platforms capable of hosting this new digital universe. At the same time, Meta doubled down on artificial intelligence, developing algorithms not just to moderate content, but to power translation, personalization, and even generative tools for the metaverse itself. Zuckerberg was no longer building just a company. He was trying to shape the architecture of digital reality. Yet the transformation was fraught with risk. The metaverse required massive adoption of VR headsets, something the public was slow to embrace. Investors grew restless as Meta's Reality Labs division burned billions in losses. Critics accused Zuckerberg of running from Facebook's scandals by hiding behind a futuristic distraction. To many, Meta looked less like bold reinvention and more like a desperate bet to remain relevant. Meanwhile, the competitive landscape was shifting. TikTok captured the attention of younger generations, redefining social media with short, addictive video. AI-driven tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney opened new frontiers in creativity, while companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft were building their own ecosystems for AR and AI. In this whirlwind of innovation, Meta faced a daunting question. Could it lead the future, or was it already falling behind? And yet Meta's scale remained undeniable. Billions still logged into Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp every day. Advertising revenue, despite controversies, continued to flow. The metaverse may have been a risky dream, but the core business still anchored the company's power. This dual reality, stability in the present, uncertainty in the future, defined Meta's place in the modern era. Today, Meta stands at a crossroads. It is both a titan of the social media age and a pioneer chasing a vision few fully understand. Whether the metaverse will succeed or collapse remains unclear, but one truth is undeniable. Zuckerberg has once again placed himself and his company at the center of the question that defines our digital era. Will Meta shape the future of human connection, or will it become a relic of ambitions too grand to realize? Mark Zuckerberg's journey is not a straight line of victories. It is a story of bold experiments, costly mistakes, and relentless reinvention. For entrepreneurs, one lesson stands above all. Scale is born not from perfect beginnings, but from the willingness to adapt. Zuckerberg's refusal to chase quick profits in Facebook's early years, his insistence on prioritizing growth and user experience, became the foundation of an empire. It is a reminder that patience and conviction often matter more than speed. His greatest triumph lies in his ability to see patterns others ignored. Where Friendster and MySpace faltered, he spotted the power of real identity. Where competitors dismissed a small photo-sharing app, he saw Instagram as the future of expression. Where messaging seemed unprofitable, he understood WhatsApp as the infrastructure of global communication. These moves reveal a principle every entrepreneur can borrow. Innovation is not only about invention, but about recognizing what others undervalue. But triumph has always walked beside error. Zuckerberg underestimated the consequences of scale, failing to anticipate how misinformation, privacy violations, and political manipulation could weaponize his creation. His algorithms, designed to maximize engagement, also magnified outrage. The same tools that connected billions also divided societies. For entrepreneurs, this is a cautionary tale. Growth without responsibility is fragile, and success without ethics can turn into scandal. There is also the question of leadership style. Zuckerberg has often been criticized for being too insular, too focused on vision and code, and too detached from human consequences. Yet, paradoxically, it is that same stubborn clarity that allowed him to withstand storms. For founders, the takeaway is nuanced. Conviction can be your greatest strength, but only if balanced with empathy, humility, and awareness of impact. Meta's present gamble, the metaverse, embodies this duality. It may be Zuckerberg's boldest innovation or his greatest mistake, If successful, it could redefine human interaction for decades to come, ushering in a new digital civilization. If it fails, it may become a monument to overreach, a cautionary story of ambition that flew too close to the sun. Entrepreneurs must ask themselves, when is bold vision a strength, and when does it become blind ambition? Will Meta survive the next 10 years? On one hand, its scale seems indestructible. Billions of users, deep infrastructure, and financial resources that dwarf most nations. On the other hand, history reminds us that no empire is immune to disruption. MySpace once looked untouchable. Nokia once ruled Mobile. The question is not whether Meta is strong today, but whether it can evolve fast enough for tomorrow. In the end, Zuckerberg's story is not just about a company, it is about the cost of changing the world. For some, he is a visionary. For others, a cautionary tale. But for all, his journey forces us to reflect, what is the true price of innovation? And as we stand on the edge of AI, VR, and digital realities yet to come, one haunting question remains: will Meta be the architect of our future, or a relic of its own ambition? So now we arrive at the ultimate question: is Mark Zuckerberg building the future, or running from the past? The answer may not be clear today, but one thing is undeniable: his choices will shape not just a company, but the way humanity lives, works, and connects in the decades ahead. And as you reflect on this journey, ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in, and who should be the architect of it? If this story made you think deeper about ambition, power, and the future of technology, don't just leave it here. Subscribe, share, and join this channel as we uncover the hidden strategies and untold stories behind the visionaries who are reshaping our world. Because their stories are not just history, they're your future.